Yeah, we'll try to keep some bias out of this one, but with that being said, we got Lakers in five. Yeah. No, I do think this is an interesting matchup actually for the most part. Like I think looking into the playoffs, like when we once we knew that Memphis was no longer going to be an option to get that sixth seed, we were looking at the standings saying who's the next best, next best team we want to play. And
Yeah.
I would say Minnesota would be that next team that would be ideal for us. Where Minnesota is dangerous at for us is obviously there's no secret that the Lakers, they lack some size in
Yep.
the paint. Jackson Hayes is kind of their only guy that they have down there, and yeah, he's tall and whatnot, but he isn't really necessarily like the biggest body in the world. He is a little bit more on the skinnier side. And a guy like Rudy Gobert could definitely, dominate the paint. And if Minnesota can just destroy us on the glass and use their size to their advantage, this could be a long series for the Lakers. But at the same time, though, where I lean into the Lakers being the favorites in this one is we've already seen as of last year, how Luka matches up against this team, specifically Rudy Gobert, and he's so good at getting Gobert switched out onto Luka or other perimeter players out on the perimeter and getting him away from the basket, getting him out of the paint where he's the most effective at, and Luka's really good at having his way with him out there and getting him away from the basket. And I think that's where the Lakers are going to look to try to excel in this series is getting Gobert away from the perimeter or getting him away from the paint out on the perimeter and really making him unplayable to play. I mean, that's what we've seen Gobert's biggest problem come playoff times is teams just hunting out there on the perimeter, and it's not really the most valuable thing if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves to have your center out there guarding the other team's best guard. And I feel like the Lakers, especially JJ Redick, he obviously is a genius here and knows what he's doing. And then you factor in LeBron and Luka, who's two of the highest IQ players in the NBA. They're going to find a way to get the right matchups and be able to expose them. The key is going to come down to does Anthony Edwards have show up and put himself in that conversation to be the next face of the NBA, or do the Lakers get just destroyed on the glass? If we can keep both those things semi in check, this should be a relatively, I don't want to say easy because I think it'll be hard fought games, but I don't foresee this series going very late. So in closing, the last thing I'll say is Julius Randle gonna put out his candle. The Timberwolves gonna be in shambles. Lakers in five.
Lakers in five. Man, you heard it here first. Uh, Look, I love it. I'm going with the Lakers as well. I think it's going to be a six-game series, and really the reason why is Anthony Edwards. I do think this guy is a superstar. It's hard to bet against him. I love his game, and I just think he's going to be able to pull out at least one, but I think he's going to find a way to pull out two. The way these teams match up, as far as their points and how much they give up, pretty similar. At the end of the day, the Lakers are going to have more experience. Luka just went on a long run last season. LeBron's done it many, many times. So I think that experience is going to matter the most in this series. And the Lakers have also become a more efficient offense since acquiring Luka, obviously. But statistically, we're averaging around the 116 range. So they've definitely improved there and moved the ball really well. We've said it before. JJ's got them playing really well as a team too, and they have numerous guys that can take a game over. I really feel like from the Timberwolves standpoint, you really do kind of lean on Anthony Edwards as being that superstar to take a game over, whereas the Lakers, it's probably Luka most nights, right, from scoring threat, but LeBron easily could do it as well. Even at 40, he could still put up 30 plus any given night. And same with Austin Reeves. He could easily put up 32. I think people don't give him enough credit. I think maybe we're starting to see that credit be given to him, but often I don't see enough given to him as far as him being truly part of this as a big three. I look at that team as having a big three, and it's a group of guys that can go on a playoff run. They've figured each other out pretty quicker than I expected them to since acquiring Luka, and even without a true big man, their offense is rolling, and I think it's going to end up being a fun matchup. I think we're going to see some good moments. I think it's going to be close pretty much every game. I don't know that you're going to see huge blowouts. But I do think Lakers end up pulling it out. Experience being the difference maker in that matchup. So Lakers in 6 for me. I don't have anything, any Shannon Sharp type thing to add to this, but
Yeah, and I'll pitch in just one more thing there too is for me also you got to look at the fact of Julius Randle, like no denying that he's been a quality NBA player throughout his career, but he's consistently been worse in the playoffs versus the regular season. He has started to kind of come into his own to finish this regular season out, but over his career, he certainly has came up short, a lot of times in the playoffs versus the regular season. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have LeBron and obviously Luka. Look at their playoff numbers compared to their regular season numbers. Those are two players that have consistently over their career, elevated their game in the playoffs. So I fully expect the Lakers to hit another level here because that's what history tells me these players are going to do in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I agree that Anthony Edwards could definitely make this series interesting, but I do think that we're just too much of a problem for them to handle with between LeBron, Luka, and then obviously Austin Reeves as well.
And you and I have kind of had this discussion. I don't know that we brought it up on the pod. Maybe we did, but the fact that LeBron is now paired with a superstar that can truly take a game over. And we've seen it before with Anthony Davis, where in games that Anthony Davis could really take over from a scoring standpoint, you've seen a super efficient LeBron, especially in the fourth quarter. A lot more energy at this, him being older in age now. And I expect the same even in the playoffs, that he can reserve some in the tank, as much as they can allow. But I think he'll be able to reserve more in the tank in each game. Luka does his thing on offense. Reeves does his thing on offense. So where you get to the fourth quarter and he can help close out games, that's where I think this team is going to be real deadly in the playoffs. And that's why I think I've started to believe that they can go on a run.
But I mean, make no mistake about it. If they're going to go on a run, LeBron can't be the best player on the team. It has to be Luka being the best player on the team, and that's totally fine. LeBron's 40 years old, and I think he's totally okay with giving passing the torch on to Luka and getting to be Batman for once. And if they really buy into that, they're going to be a tough out for anybody, and they certainly have the firepower to go on a long playoff run here.